Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Field. I am so excited to be here. I know it has been a rough couple of days with some technical difficulties, so I know things are going to get better and you guys are going to be able to upload your assignments for week 3. I know that some of my students reached out to me and let me know they were unable to upload their assignments for week 3, and I know that this is definitely a university-wide issue. So please try to upload those by tomorrow, Tuesday, in the afternoon, by at least 11:59 p.m. if you can. And if you can't, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you're still having some technical difficulties. And I will look into it and see how we can support you. So I wouldn't worry. Of course, it will not reflect your grades, so you guys will be fine. Alrighty. So I know that was the first line of business. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is the upcoming assignments that are due for week 4 on Sunday. You actually have 2 assignments due this week as well. So you have your learning contract that is due, and you also have your assignment, and I'm going to pull that up before I dig all the way deep into the learning contract. So you also have a written assignment due at 11:59 on Sunday, where you are asked to read chapter 6 and chapter 8 on the agency context of practice and also personal safety. So they are both great reads, and I feel like you guys will learn a lot from those articles. I also highlighted some important things that I would love to go over, but if you guys have any questions about the assignment, please let me know. So in chapter 8, you're going to read a little bit about the agency's context of practice and submit answers to the followings. So you're going to look into how does your agency carry out its mission statement. Does it have a mission statement? And how does that look in practical terms? And how do you think your agency shows evidence that it does or does not function in accordance with its mission? What, if any, recommendations would you make for improvement? So I know many of you guys are, a couple weeks into your field, so you may have some insight about what that looks like. So if you feel like you're stuck and you need any help, please feel free to reach out. So for part 2 of the assignment, you're going to read chapter 6 on personal safety and submit answers to each of the following questions. So the first one is, what agency policies and procedures are in place to ensure personal safety and reduce risk to agency employees and clients? What kind of high-risk clients or situations are you likely to encounter in your field placement? How will you prepare yourself to deal with them? So it is extremely important that we always know our safety protocols in any environment that we're in. And I think that is always privy before we even receive any of the other training that we typically receive in regards to HIPAA and workplace culture and those types of things. So I did make a couple notes over some of the readings that I wanted to pinpoint for you guys that I thought was really, really important. So for chapter 6 on personal safety, it talks a lot about looking into the safety protocol for your agency, and also asking about what particular issues you may experience if you feel like you're completely safe, but may want to question about past issues around safety. That's certainly where your field instructor can come in and help you and kind of share stories or past experiences where there may be times where things can be unsafe, and to know those protocols. So the other thing that I got from the reading was that not every client is a threat, but it is so important to be aware of who might be. And sometimes we know particular people that we work with may have different backgrounds, and they may not perform in a way that they once used to, but they still may, especially if they have issues around mental health and anger and those types of things, and past experience with domestic violence and those types of things. It is important to just be aware of the population that you're serving and what comes with the territory. So the other thing that I wanted to point out from chapter 6 is it talks about the understanding of the 4 phases of escalation. So, you will of course always use your intuition, but it goes through 4 different stages where it will kind of give you some feedback on how to respond based on how escalated a client is at that particular moment. But then it'll also talk about how to respond in different situations, whether it's home visits or if a client is extremely volatile and aggressive and physically aggressive. So I can give you guys an example. The work that I do, I work with students who have severe mental health issues and behavioral health concerns. And so we run a for-profit company in which we go into the schools and serve students in an emotional support classroom. And in that emotional support classroom, the majority of our students do have some history of being physically aggressive with teachers and also peers. So we do something called the Crisis Prevention Intervention. It's called CPI, if you've ever heard of it. And the idea is that it teaches us all of these de-escalation techniques. And at the very end of everything that we've tried, we go into what's called a restraint. And you may be familiar if you're especially at a hospital setting or more intense setting where you will sometimes have to get physical with the population you serve. So a worst possible scenario, we restrain a student when they become a danger to themselves or others. So that may look like, a student flipping a chair or throwing a desk or trying to attack a staff member. And we try to do everything we can to de-escalate the student. But when they become physically aggressive, that's when we go into a restraint. So we can talk more about that and how that carries on into my personal safety at work. So I just wanted to give you guys an example to work with. So in chapter 8, I did want to focus in on, as you guys read, the policies and procedures and core values of your agency. So for example, my agency focuses on trauma-informed care, cognitive behavioral therapy, and also we utilize something called restorative practices, which is the idea is that anytime any individual brings forth any harm in the community, we restore the relationship and we restore the damage that has been done, whether it was on purpose or not on purpose, that we rekindle relationships. And it's really changed the workplace culture and the environment and the expectation to which we work with one another and we work with our students and our families. And it has been a remarkable experience. So being a part of that, learning what my mission statement is for my agency, but also knowing that as a social worker, it's also my job to enhance it and benefit it by participating in various acts that will keep it well. So I wanted to talk about that, and just knowing that there are going to be formal and informal ways that you're going to learn about your company's mission and whether or not they're really carrying out what's forth in the policy and guidelines. So that's your assignment for week 4. I feel like you guys are going to do awesome. I think this will really get you to think about your surroundings and to be more mindful of how everything on paper kind of plays into the field. So that's week 4. And then I wanted to turn really quickly into the learning contract and just kind of give you an example, because I know sometimes it can be hard to think of different activities or tasks to do for your learning contract, because it's not always etched in stone on what this may look like, although you have a sample. So I had a good example for competency educational policy. So applying critical thinking to inform and communicate professional judgments. So it talks about distinguish, appraise, and integrate multiple sources of knowledge, including research-based knowledge and practice wisdom, analyze models of assessment, prevention, intervention, and evaluation, and identify and analyze. So I am currently a field instructor for one of my students in our classroom, in our emotional support classroom. And what I've been doing with him for this particular area is to have him support collecting behavioral and clinical data on my students, and then to also assess it to see, how our students are doing. Is it a good depiction of what we're trying to collect, and how does it tie in with our mission statement? So, and what I did is I gave that a due date for maybe a week or two from now, and I will check back to see how the data collection process is going. So it can be something like that. When it talks about demonstrating effective oral and written communication and working with individuals, families, groups, organizations, communities, you can do something like writing progress notes or writing meeting minutes and those types of things. They are, equally as important, especially in the field of social work, because if we didn't write it, it didn't happen. So being able to have practice with writing those will also be helpful. So those are some tasks that you can certainly put on your activity task portion of your objectives. But you can also, you don't necessarily have to feel like you have to fill up all 5. I know someone had asked about that, but you want to make sure that you have enough substance of goals set forth in your learning contract so that you are doing some qualitative work in the field. So if you have 2 or 3, but they're really of substance, that is perfectly fine. I wouldn't worry so much about that. So if you guys have further questions about the learning contract, or there's specific areas you're like, I could use a perfect example of what you are asking for, I'm totally available to you. So I went over that. I just wanted to see. So those are the 2 assignments that are due this upcoming Sunday. You also have, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but I like to give you guys a heads up and a reminder, for week 5, your next reflection log is due. So I just want you to begin to think about that as you're completing your assignments for this week. And, from the 2 readings, once you guys read them, I want you to really think about enjoying your field experience and taking everything as a teachable moment, even the moments where you may have some type of conflict internally or with a peer or even with your field instructor, because I believe those are the things that are going to help you build your social work skills, but to also learn how to be restorative and to mend relationships when things don't go well, or to also advocate for yourself when you feel like things are unjust. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. I've been seeing great work this far. And please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns. Bye.